Alright, let's talk about breakfast. Because if you're like me and countless other Americans, there's a good chance you've kicked off your day at one of our favorite drive-thrus or casual dining spots. We all love the convenience, the idea of a quick, satisfying start to our busy mornings, right? But what if the very places we trust for that morning fuel are quietly and often horrifyingly undermining our health and even our expectations? What if those comforting, familiar flavors are just a clever illusion, hiding a deeper, less appetizing truth about what you're really putting into your body? Get ready, because the comfortable, warm breakfast you think you're getting might just be a frozen, sodium-packed science experiment masquerading as food. And once you hear this, you might never look at your morning meal the same way again. First up, let's peel back the layers on Dunkin'. That bright pink and orange sign promises a reliable start, but behind the counter, the reality is far from fresh. Most of what you get is mass-produced, frozen, and shipped from who knows how far away. Those freshly baked donuts? They arrive frozen and are thawed overnight or microwaved in batches, meaning that perfect glaze was probably applied days ago. Even the muffins often travel more miles than your morning commute. But it gets worse when you order something hot. Those breakfast sandwiches are built on pre-cooked eggs that come in plastic bags. They're not cracked fresh, but poured into factory trays, cooked in bulk, then vacuum sealed and frozen until they're nuked in a microwave and slapped onto your sandwich. It's less like a homemade meal and more like airport cafeteria food, only with even more sodium. Even the bacon, sausage, and turkey follow this same flash frozen, heavily salted and microwaved pattern, so much so that you can often smell the microwave before you taste the sandwich itself. And that signature coffee, it's often inconsistent, with some stores watering it down or letting it sit on burners for hours. The fresh pot you're sipping might have been brewed before the sun even came up. If you're opting for their sugary drinks, beware. Many iced coffees and flavored swirls contain more sugar than a can of soda, transforming your coffee into a milkshake in disguise. Add to this the variable cleanliness and staff training across different locations, and it becomes clear why this shortcut might not be worth it. Next, we move to Dairy Queen, a place you might not think of for breakfast, but it's an option at many locations, and one you should definitely consider skipping. For starters, most breakfast ingredients are the same ones used for lunch and dinner, and that's far from a compliment. The eggs arrive in liquid form from cartons, the hash browns are frozen patties made from dehydrated potato flakes, and even the pancakes come frozen, pre-portioned, and often microwaved. Former employees have revealed that Dairy Queen kitchens are frequently understaffed during morning hours, leading to skipped cleaning protocols, rushed food prep, and mistakes. One whistleblower even recounted a terrifying morning where sausage was accidentally left out overnight and still served to customers during the rush, resulting in multiple complaints and at least one report of food poisoning. And that was just one shift. Another major issue is the oil. Fryers used for breakfast items are often the same ones used later for burgers, chicken strips, and onion rings, meaning your hash browns could be soaking in the lingering flavor of last night's fried fish. Even worse, some locations don't even change the oil daily, especially if breakfast orders are rare, leading to burnt residue, chemical breakdown, and a greasy aftertaste that lingers long after your food is gone. Nutritionally, Dairy Queen's breakfast burritos can pack over 700 calories, primarily from processed meat and cheese, effectively starting your day with a salt bomb that leaves you sluggish and thirsty an hour later. It's not fuel, it's sabotage. But perhaps most concerning are the inconsistent training, poor food storage, and even failed refrigeration that can spoil food overnight. Yet due to pressure to serve quickly and cut waste, questionable ingredients might still make it to your plate. Your stomach might notice that missing expiration date later. Then there's Popeyes. While not a traditional breakfast spot, certain regions and airport locations do offer early morning options, and here's why that's a significant problem. Popeyes kitchens are engineered for one thing: high-speed fried chicken production, not careful sanitary breakfast prep. When breakfast items like biscuits, grits, and fried chicken sandwiches are on the menu, the shortcuts are clear. The biscuits are frozen, delivered in bulk, and reheated in ovens used for other products. Grits are often made from dehydrated powder, not fresh ingredients. And that fried chicken? It's the same bird used later in the day, sometimes served after being held under heat lamps for hours. One ex-manager from a southern Popeyes even admitted that leftover chicken from the night before was occasionally reused for breakfast items, just needing gravy to mask the chewy texture. And that gravy? It's from a mix, just add water and stir. A strategy common with instant mashed potatoes, fast, cheap, and forgettable. The biggest concern here is cross-contamination. Kitchens are small, not designed for a separate breakfast flow, and staff aren't typically trained for distinct food zones. Raw chicken, cooked sides, and breakfast items often share the same cramped space. Gloves are rarely changed, tools get reused, and in a busy rush, hygiene often takes a back seat. Many Popeyes locations are franchised with limited oversight, meaning one might follow the rules while the next doesn't even know them. You can't tell from the outside, but that rushed morning shift can quickly dismantle any illusion of Southern hospitality. These first three chains share a common thread: the illusion of convenience. You think you're saving time, but you're often trading freshness for frozen filler, rich flavor for excessive salt and sugar, and proper sanitation for pure speed. Whether it's a microwaved biscuit or a powdered egg in a wrap, the result is food that looks like breakfast but acts more like a science experiment. And this is just the beginning. The next batch of restaurants we're about to explore gets even worse, where breakfast isn't just disappointing, it's downright questionable. This critical information rarely makes it onto the menu, but it will make it into your awareness. So let's continue. If breakfast is meant to be comforting, Cracker Barrel has certainly mastered the branding, the rocking chairs, the old-timey gift shop, the wood-paneled walls evoking a cozy home. But once you sit down, that charming illusion begins to crumble. What you're actually served isn't a homemade meal, but factory-made food, reheated by line cooks rushing to get orders out. Most patrons don't realize Cracker Barrel's kitchens heavily rely on pre-prepared ingredients. Their famous hash brown casserole? It arrives frozen in massive bags. Those eggs you assumed were cracked fresh? They're pre-mixed liquid eggs poured from jugs and scrambled on an industrial griddle. Even the pancake batter isn't made from scratch. It's portioned from giant buckets full of preservatives for extended shelf life. The meat fares no better. Bacon is likely pre-cooked in bulk and held under heat lamps, while sausage patties are frozen and reheated just enough to appear fresh. That country fried steak you dip in white gravy? It was probably breaded hundreds of miles away, flash frozen, and shipped in vacuum-sealed plastic. You're not getting country cooking, you're getting assembly line efficiency dressed up in gingham napkins. Then there's the sodium. A full country boy breakfast can contain over 2,500 milliliters of sodium, exceeding the daily recommended amount for an adult in a single meal. Add syrup, biscuits, or gravy, and you're headed for a blood pressure spike before lunch. While the sweetness and saltiness might trigger nostalgia, your body knows better, leaving diners feeling full and tired, not nourished or energized. Cleanliness is another major concern. Former employees have described permanently greasy kitchen floors and cooking equipment rarely receiving a deep clean. Griddles are used from open to close, accumulating residue that becomes seasoning, but not in a good way. In busy times, corners are cut, eggs get overcooked, sausages double microwaved, and gravy is stretched with water. High turnover means inexperienced cooks and rushed training are common, severely reducing the chances of a meal cooked with genuine care. Now take all that and strip away the rustic charm, and you're left with Waffle House. This place boasts a cult following, revered for its waffles, hash browns, and the distinctive chaos. But chaos, unfortunately, isn't a desirable trait when it comes to food safety. Waffle House's 24/7 operation means the kitchen never truly shuts down, which is where the problems begin. If a kitchen is always open, it rarely gets a deep clean. Grease accumulates, equipment is wiped instead of scrubbed, refrigerators get overloaded, and with minimal staff on graveyard shifts, that hash brown station can go unchecked for hours. Multiple former employees have shared unsettling photos of dirty prep stations, overflowing trash bins, and expired food being reused. While your food might be cooked right in front of you, that doesn't mean you'd want to witness the entire process. The eggs are the same story. Liquid eggs from cartons poured onto a griddle, potentially unwiped since the last 5 orders. Waffles are made from premixed batter stored in plastic buckets and often kept at room temperature for hours. Hash browns, pulled from frozen bags, are cooked in oil used non-stop. It's not uncommon for oil to go days without being changed, especially during busy holidays or inclement weather when staff is scarce and customer volume spikes. Cross-contamination is a very real issue here, with gloves rarely changed, utensils shared between raw and cooked items, and the same spatula flipping your bacon potentially having just handled raw ground beef. In most restaurants, food safety is a system. At Waffle House, it's often more of a suggestion. And let's not ignore the infamous fights. These viral altercations between customers and staff, particularly late at night, tell a deeper story of underpaid, overworked employees navigating hot food, drunk customers, and relentless pressure. That's a pressure cooker, not a recipe for careful cooking. When morale breaks down, so does the food, leading to reports of everything from hair in eggs to spoiled milk and waffles tasting like bleach from improperly rinsed cleaning chemicals. Some customers have even found employees sleeping in booths. When the kitchen becomes the break room, standards inevitably plummet. However, no breakfast conversation would be complete without addressing the fast food morning king, McDonald's. You've probably had a McMuffin, maybe more than once, but you might not realize the immense effort to make breakfast appear effortless and how many corners are cut in the process. While the eggs in an Egg McMuffin can be real, that's only at some locations. In many stores, scrambled eggs come from a liquid mix, and the folded eggs used in burritos or biscuit sandwiches are cooked in bulk, off-site, frozen, shipped, and then merely reheated at the store. The sausage patties and bacon strips are also pre-cooked and frozen, packed with enough sodium to outlast most relationships. And those hash browns? Crispy, salty, and loaded with oil, they're deep-fried from frozen and then held in warming trays for hours. During busy periods, they're made in huge batches, but during slow hours, they just sit. Videos exist of cold, soggy hash browns served after sitting out far too long, and when those heat lamps fail, bacteria can thrive. Breakfast sandwiches are puzzle pieces: meat, egg, cheese, bun. Those buns are often steamed to re-soften them after sitting in plastic trays, and the cheese is processed and engineered to melt at a very specific controlled temperature. Everything is precision planned, which sounds efficient until you realize it completely eliminates any room for actual freshness. McDonald's breakfast burritos, another fan favorite, contain eggs from giant plastic bags of pre-scrambled filling, with the entire burrito rolled, frozen, and shipped, then microwaved upon order. That's reheating, not cooking, and while the taste is consistent, it's consistently mediocre. Even their oatmeal, which should be a healthy choice, is premixed with cream and sugar, with a single serving containing more sugar than some candy bars. You think you're making a healthy choice, but your pancreas is likely writing its resignation letter, and the fruit topping is swimming in syrup, because nothing says fresh like peaches in goo. What makes it all worse is that McDonald's kitchen equipment is designed for speed, not precision. Griddles run non-stop, oil is reused across breakfast and lunch, and storage containers are constantly opened, inviting air, bacteria, and cross-contamination. Employees are trained on strict procedures, but when the line is backed up and timers are beeping, those procedures often fly out the window. Plus, McDonald's breakfast is often eaten in your car, meaning you're not even truly looking at your food. You're trusting that everything is clean, hot, and safe. That's a huge leap of faith for a company built on uniformity, not quality. So far, we've covered 6 names: Cracker Barrel, selling you nostalgia and serving you sodium; Waffle House, where the kitchen is always open and food safety sometimes takes a nap; and McDonald's, where industrial efficiency masks a surprising lack of freshness. The common thread among all of them is cutting corners in the morning, relying on frozen ingredients, preservatives, and microwave tricks to create the illusion of a fresh, satisfying breakfast. And we're still not finished, because the final 3 names on this list prove that even your favorite drive-thru can betray you before 9 a.m., and what's hiding in those wraps, burritos, and signature sauces is truly unsettling. By the time you pull into a Sonic drive-in for breakfast, you're likely expecting something fast, cheap, and perhaps a little fun. Roller skating servers, cheerful ads, and tater tots stacked with cheese and bacon all seem harmless. But Sonic's breakfast game is as inconsistent and overprocessed as their perpetually problematic ice cream machine, barely holding itself together behind the scenes. Let's start with the eggs. Unless you hit a rare fresh cook window, most Sonic locations use pre-cooked egg patties, manufactured in bulk, frozen, shipped, and then reheated on a flat-top grill, or more commonly, in the microwave. The texture hovers between rubber and foam, and the taste has more in common with packing peanuts than actual eggs. Former employees will tell you these eggs become nearly impossible to reheat without turning into plastic once they've cooled. Then there's the bread. Those soft pretzel buns and artisan ciabatta rolls don't come from any bakery you'd recognize. Most Sonic bread arrives frozen and is flash-thawed in-store, giving it a soft texture but little character. Biscuits are baked in bulk, held under warming lamps, and often dry out before ever making it to your sandwich. One Reddit user compared them to reheated cardboard dipped in salt water. And the meat, bacon, sausage, even the ham, it's all pre-cooked, frozen, and brimming with sodium. A single Sonic sausage, egg, and cheese sandwich can contain over 1,700 pg of sodium, transforming your breakfast into a salt lick with a slice of cheese. You might not taste it through the grease, but your kidneys will certainly remember. The compact kitchen layout at Sonic, often just a few feet wide, means cross-contamination isn't just possible, it's practically guaranteed during busy hours. Raw ingredients, cooked items, cleaning chemicals, and even allergens can share the same limited counter space. In a rush, gloves are skipped, surfaces go unwiped, and breakfast becomes a risky gamble, especially if you have dietary restrictions. Let's not overlook the fryers. Those signature tots, appearing in everything from burrito bowls to breakfast sandwiches, are fried in oil that likely cooked a dozen other items that day. Chicken tenders, onion rings, corn dogs, all bubbling in the same vat. While the oil should be changed regularly, multiple employee reviews describe managers instructing staff to stretch it to avoid downtime, meaning your hash browns aren't just oily, they're chemically unstable. And if you order a breakfast burrito, prepare for a random mix of egg product, greasy meat, and pre-shredded cheese that often clumps into plasticky blobs. Add frozen tots and a drizzle of ranch, or what Sonic calls ranch, and you've got a gut bomb designed to ruin your morning, leaving customers with a mix of regret and confusion. If Sonic is bad, Carl's Jr. might be even worse. This is a place that advertises breakfast with more bravado than actual quality. Think giant sandwiches, monster burritos, and steak and egg combinations that look like they were concocted by a teenager who skipped health class. But open the wrapper, and the reality is strikingly different. Carl's Jr. breakfast operates almost entirely on freezer-to-fryer logistics. Nothing is made fresh. Biscuits are frozen, hash browns are pre-formed and chemically preserved, and eggs are either a liquid mix or pre-made patties depending on the location. Even the bacon, which appears crispy in ads, often arrives limp and pre-cooked in massive bags, destined for a quick zap in the microwave or a pass over the griddle before being slapped onto a bun. The steak in their breakfast burritos is barely recognizable as steak. It's processed meat, chopped, formed into patties or strips, then frozen. What ends up in your burrito is more soy filler than beef, and when it reheats unevenly, you get chewy outer edges with a raw-tasting center. The texture feels like biting into wet jerky, and the flavor is primarily salt, smoke flavoring, and a heavy dose of regret. Sauces are another trap. Carl's Jr. heavily uses creamy spreads to elevate breakfast items, but these are shelf-stable, heavily preserved, and often stored at room temperature far exceeding food safety guidelines. One employee claimed the same squeeze bottles were reused for weeks without sanitizing or label changes. Just top it off and keep going. So if your breakfast sandwich has an unexpected zesty kick, it might just be bacteria. Cleanliness is a persistent problem, with various health inspection reports citing improper food holding temperatures, lack of hand washing, and pest activity like rats and roaches in storage areas. These pests don't show up for the ambience. They appear when food safety slips and tend to linger when neglected. The most disheartening part is that breakfast customers are typically in a hurry, grabbing their bag, taking a few bites in the car, and moving on, which means issues go unnoticed, unreported, and unresolved. You're not just eating a bad breakfast, you're unintentionally enabling a flawed system to persist. Finally, we arrive at Wendy's, the new kid on the breakfast block. They launched their breakfast menu with slick marketing, bold flavor claims, and social media campaigns that openly mocked other chains. But beneath all that bluster lies a rushed menu overflowing with processed shortcuts and more branding than substance. Take their signature breakfast croissant. It's made with eggs that arrive frozen in bulk trays, reheated and scrambled into an unnatural fluff that feels more like mousse than an actual egg. The croissants themselves aren't baked fresh. They're thawed, sometimes microwaved to soften, and then toasted, resulting in a soft outside with a soggy center, more chew toy than pastry. Their potatoes aren't hash browns. They're seasoned wedges, which sounds fancy until you realize they're just fried potato chunks tossed in salty seasoning powder. These are stored in warming bins that often sit open, allowing them to go stale before they even make it into your box. And because they share fryers with everything else, the flavor profile is more mystery grease than breakfast spice. The sausage is pre-cooked, processed, and packed with fillers. A single sausage croissant can contain over 800 calories and nearly 1,700 mg of sodium. And that's before the cheese sauce. Oh yes, the cheese sauce. That bright yellow goo drizzled over everything isn't actual cheese. It's a processed cheese product stabilized with emulsifiers and thickening agents. It holds heat well, but it also holds secrets your stomach would rather not know. Employees at some Wendy's locations have reported rushed, undertrained breakfast operations. As a newer menu, not all locations are properly staffed for breakfast hours, meaning night shift workers might be prepping food they're untrained on, or opening staff might be scrambling to get ovens and fryers up to temperature. This significantly increases the risk of cross-contamination due to shared workspaces and minimal oversight. Even the coffee is a letdown. Despite advertising fresh brewed, it's often pre-brewed in massive batches and stored in thermal containers. If you arrive during a slow hour, you might be sipping coffee that's been sitting for hours, burnt, bitter, and full of floating grounds. Wendy's aims to compete with the breakfast giants, but instead of offering something fresh or genuinely different, they've simply copied the same playbook: processed ingredients, frozen shortcuts, and sodium bombs masquerading as breakfast sandwiches. The final result is a menu that looks slick in the ads, but lands like a brick in your gut. So, here's the complete picture. 9 restaurants examined in 3 parts deliver one clear, undeniable message. When it comes to breakfast, most fast food chains aren't serving you real food. They're serving you factory-engineered filler, frozen shortcuts, and enough salt to dehydrate a cactus. You might think you're starting your day right, but what you're really paying for is speed and branding, not quality or genuine care. Smart people don't skip breakfast. They skip places that treat food as an afterthought. You, dear viewer, deserve far better than microwave eggs, questionable fryer grease, and biscuits that were manufactured in a warehouse 5 states away. So, the next time you're feeling that morning hunger, remember this crucial lesson. Your breakfast should be something that fuels your day, not something your body has to fight. Because when you truly know better, you inherently eat better. And the smartest move you can make before 9 a.m. might just be to drive right past these places. If this deep dive has ruined your appetite just enough to skip the drive-thru tomorrow, then we've done our job. Until next time, remember that the truth isn't always on the menu, but it's always worth uncovering.